So where does life come from? Thinking of a physical life in the world of all forms. For thousands of years, all of the smartest thinkers and scientists and philosophers believed in spontaneous generation. That is, they believed that in the right conditions, life could form where there was no life. Whether this was fruit flies or gnats coming out of the dust or mice, they believed that in the right conditions, you could just have new life form. And this made so much sense. How could it be questioned? An idea that went on for thousands of years. And then in the relatively recent past in science, the principle of biogenesis has taken over. Experiments to prove that living organisms only come from pre-existing living organisms. It can't just come out of thin air. It can't come from non-living previous elements. It has to come from other living organisms. There's no other way for life to form. So what I want to think about for a minute today is, where does spiritual life come from? I'm Pastor John of Crossway Multinational Church, and we are looking at life from Jesus. We've been working on our discipleship pathway and recognizing that to understand what it is to grow as a Christian, it requires having an understanding of what a Christian is. And so we look at the most fundamental, essential, unchanging trait of what it is to be a disciple. In John 5, verses 25 and 26, Jesus said, "Very truly I tell you, a time is coming, and has now come, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. For as the Father has life in himself, so he has granted the Son also to have life in himself." So here Jesus says clearly that they're the dead, and here he's talking about the spiritually dead. Not the physically dead, but the spiritually dead, people who are alive but don't have this essential life of God in them. And it comes by hearing the voice of the Son of God. He says, those who hear will live. And then he gives the explanation. As God the Father, has life in himself, an essential quality of who God is that he is life, and he can give life. So he has granted the Son also to have life in himself, so that when the Son speaks, those who hear will have the life of God in them. And so we're convinced that the essential quality of being a disciple of Jesus is to have life from God, to have this life from God in Jesus. So to put it this way, the principle of spiritual life, it only comes from the life of God in Jesus. The only way to be spiritually alive is to receive that life from God through Jesus. So to put it this way, the spiritual life of Christians is entirely dependent upon our connection with God, now and forever. It is good to be a follower of Jesus Christ, and even a fully devoted follower of Jesus Christ, if there is such a thing. Yet to be a fully devoted follower is something that can make it look like there's life, but that doesn't mean that the essential quality has to be there. Truly, to be fully devoted, we need the life of God. Yet the core quality of being a disciple is it's having the life of God in Jesus in us. Our spiritual life is entirely dependent upon our connection with God. So it's good to obey. It's good to pray. Yet the core is this: do we have life from God in Jesus? And so this is why we are to abide in him, to know him, to walk with him, to trust him, to hear his voice. We have life if we have it from God in Jesus. And so this is the core. It's something that's true for us today and will be true always. It comes from hearing his voice. And so as we want to grow in being Christians, in being those who walk with God, who follow Jesus, the core and ongoing essential quality is this vital connection with God, that we have life through him. And so then we want to explore. And part of the preaching series this summer will be exploring what does it mean to have this life from God in Jesus? How do we do this? How do we encourage each other in it? What is it to help people discover this new life? And what are the ways that we can easily drift away from it? Having gotten this life, Jesus says, continue to abide in me, because apart from me, you can't accomplish anything. So how can we grow in this life with him? So as we pray, as we read the Bible, as we obey, it is all centered on this ongoing relationship with God through Jesus, the Son of God, who has given us life. We hear his voice and we live. What an amazing joy that is. And yet how easily we can step aside and start to focus on the things we do, which are important, yet always secondary to life from God in Jesus.